heard in the inspirational reading this morning from the Bhagavad Gita, teaching that ultimate reality is pervasive in all of nature. I am the sweet fragrance of the earth, the wetness of water, the luminosity and heat of fire. I have brought forth this satsang series on the 5 elements as a way of discovering how we can become more resilient during these turbulent times, how we can strengthen our spiritual awareness and our ground. You know, I have been a meditator for many decades, and I felt that during this time, I needed more. I really did. You know, these are exceptional times that we are in. And so I began to think about, you know, what would that more be for me? Deeper meditation is always good, but I wanted also a practice that could help me connect with the earth and with all living things and with the planet. And I wanted to be able to face the question, you know, what can we do about climate emergency in the midst of so many other emergencies? You share that question with me? Yeah. Where do we get that strength and that resiliency to respond in thoughtful and useful, wise and compassionate ways? Well, it turns out, of course, that the same practices that contribute to our physical, mental, and spiritual health are meditation, our contemplation, and connecting with nature support our resilience and bring the clarity that we need, even in these times, just to take simple steps. And I have found today and throughout my life that whenever we act from our deepest knowing, even if it's a small step, even if it's, and it's usually good if it's a small step, life itself then comes to meet us in the form of divine grace and light our way forward. And that's exactly what we need today. So through those practices, meditation, contemplation, deep observance, communion in nature, we connect. We connect to our essence as supreme consciousness in meditation every day, and we connect to our divinely embodied soul life in nature. Both. We connect to the reality of God that is transcendent, that is beyond change and phenomena, and we connect to the reality of God that is ever moving and changing in this physical world that we occupy. Both are essential, that we connect to both. And really, this is the essence of yoga, isn't it? To bring it all together as one, and to be able to walk in that oneness. So, we're exploring the 5 elements. It's official now. It has been declared. Nature is good for us. But are we good for nature? That's a question. But decades ago, I remember my mom's doctor. This was such a boon for me as a meditation teacher. My mom's doctor recommended that she learn to meditate in order to bring down her blood pressure. I was like, woohoo! And so today, I'm here to announce that doctors, U.S. doctors in 35 states and also in other countries are now giving out time in nature prescriptions. So the medical community and the local and national park systems are cooperating to implement these programs for doctors to be able to prescribe time in nature for their patients, to de-stress, to improve their health, to get exercise and relax. And as yogis, we know it's how to immerse yourself in sattva energy, in luminous, uplifting, restoring energy. Today, it is estimated that Americans, on average, spend 87% of our time indoors and 6% of our time in an enclosed vehicle. That is 93% of our lives indoors and 7% outdoors. Time to step outside, right? The Vedas declare, take care of nature and nature will take care of you. So not only does connecting to nature restore our physical, mental, and emotional well-being, but when we begin to honor the presence of God in nature, it restores our soul. So we connect and we commune. We have this experience of what I'm calling in this series original intimacy, being at home in our divine home. Then, when we do that, we are guided to live the illumined, soul-guided way of life. That becomes possible for us, and that peace that we have. So just for a moment, I want to talk about a little bit what it can look like, an example of just living the soul-guided life, learning how to cooperate with the enlivening power that nurtures the universe. What might that look like in our lives? I just want to tell you what it's been looking like here at CSE. So we've held a vision for decades about transforming the meditation gardens so that they can be not only a beautiful garden for meditation, but actually an ecological preserve in the heart of the city. So we've been taking, baby steps, small steps all along the way to do this. And then along comes COVID. And with COVID, the impetus and the necessity for being able to meet outdoors just came upon us. And so we had to take up the asphalt under that beautiful 100-year-old oak tree and create what is now the oak tree garden temple for us to meet. It's where we'll have our kirtan in May. So that was earth element. And, there are other projects like ripping up the concrete and putting in pervious concrete so that the water could seep through and nurture the ground. And as we have been planting native plants and repairing our drip irrigation systems, what we've noticed in our earth meditation is a return of the earthworms. That the soil was dying. And the earthworms have come back, lots of other insect friends and butterflies and bees that we like, and songbirds. So, we were restoring the garden, but we were restoring ourselves. That was earth. And then water element came along, and we returned to the vision that also decades of vision, that wouldn't it be great if we could take up that monoculture of lawn that just sucks water and is bad for insects and other forms of life? Wouldn't it be great if we could just take that up and, put native plants there? That's a project that is thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars to do that. And during water element contemplation, lo and behold, we discovered we could apply for a grant from the water company for $50,000 to help us start that project. So I know. So last Tuesday, off the application went. Now, we don't exactly know what will happen with that, but we're celebrating each step along the way. And the reason, I'm happy to share this with you because this is your home. And many of you are a part of making it happen. But I want to share it with you because I want to say in general, generalize this in your own life. This is how it happens. Be where you are. Connect with where you are. See where you are. Become aware of the need of restoration where you are, whatever that is. Hold the vision for it. Take one step. And then watch as grace comes to meet you. And then respond. That's how it works. So that's my update on earth and water here at the center. And now we're on to contemplating fire this week. The element of fire in the yoga system, the Samkhya system, is associated with our ability to see, both through the physical light of the sun that illumines our objects of perception, and also, of course, the heat and light of the sun that makes it possible for us to eat through enlivening the plants. But it also refers to the spiritual light of consciousness in its subtle essence, the spiritual light of consciousness that removes the darkness of ignorance, unknowing. So we connect, and with fire element, we see clearly. Now, think about fire. The luminous fire of the sun and the moon, fire of the hearth, fire of bombs, fire in the forest, fire of discernment, fire of self-discipline, fire of anger, fire of lust, fire of greed, fire of hatred, fire of love, fire of sacrifice, fire of transformation, fire of destruction, fire of digestion, fire of self-will, fire of divine will, fire of desire, fire of spiritual longing, fire of soul, fire of willingness. In California, in other parts of the US and in other countries, the imbalance of fire element during global warming has been absolutely devastating to the land, to the air, to people, to trees, to all of the beings. So we can't contemplate or talk about fire element without that awareness. And the question is, how do we hold that awareness? And what do we do with it? What do we learn from it? What can we learn from it? Globally, small steps towards forest regeneration, guided by the wisdom of indigenous people, are being implemented. The light of this helped to wake us up to that ancient wisdom and to begin to welcome it. So we are learning about fire ecology from people who have known about it for centuries. So I want to just share with you, in your ebooks you have recommended reading, and this is on the list, Regeneration, Ending the Climate Crisis in One Generation. And it's by Paul Hawken, sort of a famous environmentalist. And there's so much I would share with you from this this 2-page chapter on fire ecology, but bear with me and I'll just read one paragraph. It's a long paragraph. Members of the North Folk Rancheria Mono tribe in Northern California call targeted burns good fire. Historically, they are used to maintain the health of the woodland ecosystem that provided their food, water, wood, and fiber. Good fire practices created significant cultural bonds with the land. Today, as indigenous wisdom is being recognized by state and federal authorities, tribes are bringing good fire back. Small areas are being burned with low-intensity fires managed by tribal members. But it's not simply a matter of employing proper management practices. Good fire is an attitude. Instead of fighting fire as if it were an enemy, the Mono and other tribes view fire as a partner in the critical work of regenerating and stewarding our shared planet. The partnership is woven into the lives of indigenous peoples. Land and fire can't be separated from culture and history. They can't be managed abstractly. They are part of a spiritual, social, and ecological whole. It is the whole that matters. Sounds a lot like yoga to me. This soul-guided model of regeneration with the power of fire is to connect, observe, see the way things are, serve, and learn to cooperate. It replaces the ego-based way of control and consume, which is the product of spiritual ignorance and leaves us all suffering as well as the earth. Spiritual lesson of fire is learning how to prepare for and welcome the transforming fire of divine love into our lives that changes our darkness of confusion and ignorance into the light of divinely inspired living. The fire center in the body is the third chakra, just above earth and water, and just below air and space or ether. So it has that middle place. And it is the center of will and determination. So when the spiritual heart beckons us to another way of living, it's that fire of determination, that transforming spiritual fire of determination that gets activated. And that becomes our commitment, our fuel to live a soul-guided life. And this soul-guided life is the life of surrender. That's the heart. Fire coming up to the heart with surrender and cooperation. Cooperation with the infinite. And that requires tapas, which is heat, which is fire, which is self-discipline. The discipline of restraining our appetites and transmuting them all the time towards spiritual focus. And that's like building a hot fire in which we're tossing in all of our old conditioned ways of being that no longer serve. So we're using that as energy to live this soul-guided life. But that's the fire of determination that makes that happen for us. So like forest ecology, this inner ecology, this spiritual ecology for us needs to be well tended. It needs to be guided so that this fire can be used for higher purposes. So I want to tell you a little bit about how that can happen. The story. Once my husband, Amarnath, was riding in the car with his guru, Baba Haridas, silent yogi. So Amar was sitting in the back seat, Babaji was in the passenger seat, and Ma Renu was driving. And as they're driving down the road, Babaji, who's silent, writes something on his chalkboard. Then he shows it to Amar. And it's an observation. And Babaji wrote, human beings have vehicles for moving through the elements. A car is the vehicle for earth. A boat is our vehicle for water. A plane is our vehicle for air. A rocket ship is our vehicle for space, but no vehicle for fire. And Amar responded to Babaji, that's what the guru is for. The guru is our vehicle for fire. The spiritual teacher helps us transform in the fire of tapas, in the fire of our spiritual discipline, so that we can actualize our potential, learn how to cooperate with the infinite, and live a life of higher purpose. When we align with divine will, and we stop asking life to serve us, consuming, and instead we commit ourselves to serving life, life anoints us with a purifying fire. I want to read this poem by Denise Levertov. It just spoke to me of this whole connection, communion, transformation. She wrote, a certain day became a presence to me. A certain day became a presence to me. There it was, confronting me. A sky, air, light, a being. And before it started to descend from the height of noon, it leaned over and struck my shoulder as if with the flat of a sword, granting me honor and a task. The day's blow rang out metallic, or was it I, a bell, awakened? And what I heard was my whole self saying and singing what it knew. I can. And what I heard was my whole self saying and singing what it knew. I can. Divine love does that. Divine love does that. Opens our eyes, humbles us, anoints us, and welcomes us into the holy sanctuary of belonging. Om.